2 years ago, we arrived in Sao Paulo, Brazil. 2 years ago. Things that I love about living in Brazil, in Sao Paulo, Brazil specifically, because I haven't lived anywhere else in Brazil. José's house. A casa do José. A casa do José. But at the heart of everything I do, I really believe that a mom needs a place to. Hi guys, bom dia. Welcome to another video. Yes, it's been a long time I've been here, but I am back at it. I think that consistency, of course, is something that I really struggle with, especially with two little kids and just getting really busy. Um, but yeah, I'm not gonna do the whole I left cheese, as you can see. Yes, my daughter is here. Cheese. So today I'm going to talk about a few things that I love about living in Brazil, in Sao Paulo, Brazil specifically, because I haven't lived anywhere else in Brazil. Um, I don't think I have a number. I think I'm just gonna flow, and I think I'm just gonna flow, and we'll see how it goes. So the first thing that I want to talk about. So I don't know if I'm going to talk about things that I love or just things that I find interesting about Brazil. But the first thing I wanted to talk about is the fact that okay, today is the third day. Today is Saturday actually, but it's a long weekend, and it's only actually a long weekend because there is automatically most of the time an added public holiday to a public holiday if it's on a Thursday, right? So we had Workers' Day. We have a lot of public holidays in Brazil, and I like it sort of, but like I always have to plan around it because obviously I have kids and kids are at home from school. But for example, Easter weekend. So interestingly, Brazil does not celebrate Easter Monday as maybe you would find in Europe and Africa. Brazil doesn't celebrate Easter Monday, so we have Friday. Good Friday is celebrated, and of course Easter Sunday, Pascal as it's called. But Brazil does not celebrate Easter Monday. But there was a public holiday on Monday because it was Tiradentes, which is another holiday, and that fell on a Monday. So you have that. And then 2 weeks after, there is Workers' Day, which fell on a Thursday. So I was like, okay. And this thing always happens where in my kids' school, they will send out a survey and they will say, if your child is going to be in school on the Friday after the public holiday, let us know. If they're not, let us know. So they have those two options. And they always say that if it is more than 50% or 51% of parents whose children are not going to be in school, then, school won't open. And every time we always pick that it's not a public holiday, our kids should be in school. Every time we lose. And we feel like, are we the bad parents who because it's always more than like they always show us the results and it's always like 60% of parents or the children that are not going to be in school. And so I find that very interesting, and the reason is if you live in Sao Paulo, I don't know how it is in other parts of Brazil or in other cities in Brazil, but every weekend, or not every weekend, but every long holiday, every long holiday, most people in Sao Paulo travel. They either go to the beach or they go to the countryside. Personally, I prefer the countryside to the beach. I'm not really a beach lover like that. But if there is a public holiday on a Thursday, I feel like on Friday, it's interesting because on Friday you go out and it's like a ghost town. But it's not a public holiday. But the assumption is that, oh, Thursday is a public holiday. So we take Friday as well. And we take Friday as well, and everybody either goes to the beach or they travel or they just spend time with their families. So you find that a lot of parents whose kids are not going to be in school, they're traveling on the Thursday, and that's it. And I found that very interesting, and I think it's a lovely culture. I think it's not a work and die culture. It's not a hustle culture. But that is one thing that I have found interesting about living in Sao Paulo, Brazil specifically. So another thing that I find, and I mean for me this is perfect because hey, another thing that I find interesting and that I love about living in Sao Paulo, Brazil is Brazilians love their coffee. Oh my god. Brazilians absolutely love their coffee. Every morning, and not even just morning. They drink coffee morning, afternoon, evening, anytime, any excuse to get a coffee. Like even in church, there are a lot of our members that just hang out, especially Brazilians that hang out after lunch. After lunch, they go for a coffee. They go for coffee time. It's almost like tea time in the UK. And for me, that lived in the UK for almost 10 years, people always just assume that I prefer tea, and they're like, "Oh, do you like tea?" And I'm like, "Sorry, no, I'm a coffee." I don't know how it didn't stick because every time I would go to a friend's house or I would go anywhere, would you like a cuppa? Would you like a cuppa? Would you like a cuppa? Would you like a cup of tea? Basically, but a cuppa is a cup of tea. I was always offered tea, and I always be like, no, no, thanks. I just never liked tea. I've always liked coffee. So for me, that is a dream living in Brazil. But I actually I find it interesting how I mean I may be working from a cafe, and obviously I would get a coffee and maybe a pie or um pastel, or pastel is like pastry. I would get like some sort of pastry or sandwich or stuff. But you would see people coming in, trooping in and out just to get a tiny cafezinho. So I think this is bigger. I don't know if you can see it. This is bigger than a cafezinho. Coffee is cafe. Cafezinho or cafezinho is little coffee, and so it almost looks like a shot, a coffee shot, basically, and it's pretty much black coffee. You can have milk, but they tend to drink their coffee in like little cups. So I was given a box of these as a gift. This is smaller than a mug, but a cafezinho would be half of this. So the interesting thing about the Brazilian Portuguese language is that if something is little, they pretty much add inyo. So for example, parque is a playground. But if you say parquinho, like taking the children to the playground, the little playground, even though parque is a park. But if you say parquinho is somewhat referring to a little playground for children. If you say fofo means cute. If you say fofinho, because my children hear that all the time. Que fofinho, fofinho. So fofinho is like little cutie, right? So everything. So cafezinho is like little coffee, and that is the obsession in Sao Paulo, Brazil. I don't know how it is in the rest of Brazil, but I do know that Brazil is a coffee making, producing, loving country. And I love that. I actually really love that because I think for the longest time, I only really drank one type of coffee, Nescafe. And in Brazil, there's so much variety. So, like every coffee, I realized that every coffee shop or cafe that I go to, coffee tastes different and it's a whole different type of coffee. So, I really love that. I find it so interesting just sitting in cafes and people are trooping in to get cafezinho, little shots of coffee, and that's all they get. They come in, they sit down, have their cafezinho, chill for a few minutes, and then they head out. Or literally you see people meeting up over coffee, but meeting up over cafezinho, and it's like this tiny coffee, and you see like four or five guys. In fact, that's another thing that I'm going to talk about. I think I'll talk about that next. You see like four or five guys just coming into the coffee shop, and they take a table and they're all drinking these coffee shots. I think that is so cool. So that is something that I find interesting and something that I love. Talking about guys coming together. And I was telling my husband this that I find it really refreshing to just see guys hang out and hanging out not over alcohol, not hanging out necessarily over beer or over, drinks, but hanging out over coffee. So it shows the strength of the coffee culture, but it also shows I think the strength of the brotherhood that it doesn't have to be hanging out just because of girls or alcohol. But just seeing guys literally just hang out and not even just at night. because I think I'm coming from a culture where the guys hang out together at night. They go out at night, but no, like at midday, you see like a bunch of guys in the coffee shops just hanging out over cafezinho and laughing, gisting, and then they head out. And I think that that's very interesting. It's something that I enjoy seeing. I enjoy seeing guys hang out. So it's not just the ladies who hang out in coffee shops, but guys hanging out, and not just like one on one, but like you can see like a group of guys just with their little cafezinhos, and they're just laughing. So I really like that's something that I actually like. I found interesting and that I like about Brazil. I also love how child friendly Brazilians are. And this is not necessarily to say that every space is child friendly. I feel like there are other countries who have more spaces that are child friendly. But for me, being a mom of two toddlers especially, I just love the love towards children, and it's not a big deal for your child to be like a child, in public. And I really love that. I mean, right from the plane, we've been here about 2 years now, and right from the plane landing in Brazil, people were all over my son because my daughter hadn't been born yet. I was so pregnant. People were just all over my son, how cute he is, keep seeing it, and they're always talking to children, and I love that. I can take like yesterday, I took my daughter with me grocery shopping, and they're always trying to have a conversation with children, and it's not something I'm used to. I'm used to the adults talking and the children, you find people, they wouldn't even say hello to me, but they're always saying hello to my kids wherever we take them to. I mean, when my son started school and we would walk, my husband would walk him to school, you would see like all the women lined up. Oh my God, he had such a fan base. Um, we don't walk through there anymore, and I kind of feel bad, but he had such a fan base. He had, there was a particular older guy, security guard, who would always run out. Like they would call him, who would always run out from wherever he is to come and say hello to Caleb Nazir and chat with him and stuff like that. And I think that that is really cool. I think that it's really sweet. I don't feel some type of way taking my kids to places because they're always so readily welcomed and just loved on. And I think that, and I really I love the idea of or not the idea. I love the culture of people trying to have conversations with my kids because they're human beings, and they are not to be seen but not heard. They are to be seen and to be heard, and they're you know a huge part of society. So I really, really, I love that. I can't take my kids anywhere without someone, trying to have a conversation with them first and then me. And it really, really is a very loving environment when it comes to little children, and that's something that I really, really love about living here. So the final thing, I think the final thing that I wanted to talk about is the language. And I guess this is obvious, Brazilian Portuguese, it's slightly different from the Portuguese spoken in Portugal, European Portuguese. So yeah, I would definitely add it to something that I find interesting. I mean, and I love about Brazil. I actually do love Brazilian Portuguese. It is such a beautiful language. It's like music. It's very, sing songy. But it is pretty hard, and I say that for anybody that is, thinking of moving here. Like I said, I've been here for 2 years and I'm not fluent. I know people that have been here for much longer and are not fluent, but I do believe that it depends on how much effort that you put into learning the language. I know that, and my husband and I say this all the time, and it's not an excuse, but we do say this all the time that if we didn't have kids, we'd have probably picked up on the language much quicker because we would do more immersive activities. The most important thing is immersion, and we would do more activities that are immersive. We would probably go out a lot more. We'll get involved in a lot more things that involve us speaking and hearing the language. We're kind of limited without childcare and support in that area, so we're with our kids a lot, really. And the things that we could do, the timing isn't great, and all of that. So, the more immersed you are in the culture and in the country and all of that, the quicker you will pick up the language. If you just really stay within your English speaking circle, it will be hard and you probably won't pick up the language. But it's a lot of work, and you get to a part where you feel like you're not making any headway and you feel like you just want to give up. But I would encourage anybody, I think, just learning a new language, that is the point that you keep going, because when you move past that, you find that it gets slightly easier. I think I'm still in that spot. I don't think I've moved past that yet, but I have now found that when I'm in a setting and it's mostly Brazilians and they're mostly speaking Portuguese because that's what they are more comfortable with as opposed to English, I find that I am understanding a lot more than, should I say, the past maybe 6 months or thereabout. The most important thing is to expose yourself to the language every day, which is something that we weren't really doing, but now we are using um, a course or an app, Pimsleur, which is quite popular. And every day we do a lesson or two lessons. So we are hearing the language and we are speaking the language every day. And again, we have kids who it will actually be their their first language, I think. Well, I don't know. Yeah, because I think that Portuguese will be their first language. I feel like my son is even getting a bit more comfortable with Portuguese. And so we have to learn so we can understand what he's trying to say. He does speak English as well, but I'm noticing that he tends towards Portuguese. So those are the things. But I would, for anyone that is moving or was thinking about, moving to Brazil, I would say pick up a few things, start to learn before you get here because there are also different sotaques, accents, right? So many different accents. So the accent in São Paulo is different from the accent in Rio de Janeiro or Rio de Janeiro. And the accent may also be different, I think, from Minas Gerais. So accents is another thing. So sometimes you feel like, oh, I can understand it. Then you hear someone who has a totally different accent and it sounds like a different language. So there is a lot to, should I say, there's a lot to overcome. But learning a new language is actually amazing. It has also opened my mind to other languages in general. It's kind of sparked my interest in language in general. I'm not sure that I want to be trilingual or learn multiple. I think I'm good with English and Portuguese for now, but it has sparked my interest really in learning other languages. I mean, the grammar structure is different. They would say that our grammar structure is back to front. We would say their grammar structure is back to front as well. And the fact that there's masculine and feminine, it is a romance language. I think French, Italian, Portuguese, and another language, I believe, they're all romance languages. And they're just built different. And it's made me realize that English is very basic. English is such a basic language. I wonder why it's the universal language. But my husband says that is why it's the universal language because it's extremely basic. And I was like, okay, because it's easier. It's pretty basic. So learning another language that has a lot of masculine and feminine will stretch your brain. It really will because you're not used to that. And even the verb conjugations are extensive. I could go through a list of examples, but I don't think that I want this video to be too long. But yeah, I would say that those are the five things for now. If I think of any, I'll do another video. Those are the five things that I would say I love about Brazil and I find interesting about living in Brazil, in São Paulo, Brazil specifically, and Brazil in general. Yeah.
How did you say? To Jose's house. A casa do José. A casa do José. Casa. Try to say for a woman, to my house. A minha casa. Para a minha casa, a minha casa. A minha casa. Ele diz, I want to go to my house. Eu quero ir à minha casa. Eu quero ir à minha casa. Tente perguntar. Try to ask. Tente perguntar. Rainbow. To your house. Não. A sua casa? No, where is your house located?
Bom dia, tudo bem? Today is a cold day in Sao Paulo. I know that I usually start with, oh, it's a sunny day in Sao Paulo. Today is not a sunny day. As you can see from the previous shot, it is pretty cold, pretty misty. Can't see anything in the distance, really. Hi. My daughter. Can't see anything in the distance. And
that's one of the things. I think I feel like I should add this to another interesting thing about Sao Paulo is the changes in weather, the sudden and extreme changes in weather. Just day before yesterday, a couple of days ago, it was what, like 28, 29 degrees. It was pretty hot, pretty summery. I know that we're going into autumn now. But it was still kind of hot, like 28, 29, almost 30 degrees. And today is 18 degrees and we can't see anything. It's misty, it's cold. I mean, I love that it's fresh, but it's cold. And I think that's something that I had to get used to. And it takes a toll on your body, the extreme changes and the sudden changes, because your body is embracing this weather and then there's sudden changes. So my kids were sick, the whole family was sick. It just really messes with you. But yeah, that's how our day has started. Cold, misty, can't see much. I need to see what my daughter's up to. So one of the things that I definitely miss about back home is support. And I think I've said this in almost every video because like I have a routine in my head for cleaning and things like that. And I try to stick to it unless with two kids the house will always be messy and it used to mess with me mentally. So I used to do the night shift as soon as I put my daughter down to sleep, come out, and every other day I would just tidy up and then every other day I would sweep and tidy up, just like the living room especially. I feel like those spaces are important to me because I wake up and the first thing I do when I wake up and I come out is I see my living room. And when it's messy, it messes with me mentally. And I was telling my husband that you take these things for granted. I remember, before I left my home country and I had a housekeeper and I would come downstairs and the housekeeper had done all the cleaning. I would come downstairs to like a quiet, clean house and you take those things for granted. So, but because you've been ill, the house is extremely messy. So, but now what I do is I try to get the kids involved. They love the vacuum cleaner. And even though they don't do it properly, I try to get them involved. So I don't wait for the night shift because I'm too tired. Jesus. Can you put it? Can you put it there, please? Coloca aqui. Coloca aqui. Mama. Coloca aqui. Obrigada. So today is actually Mother's Day. This was shot on May 11th. Today is actually Mother's Day, and because we have been sick, like I have a lot of catching up on work to do. And I will share on my Instagram, on my new Instagram page. I'm working on a rebuilding package for moms of littles, moms of infants, but it's starting off really just as free one-on-one unburdening sessions. And I need to shoot a video for that and see how that goes. I hope that people will sign up because I find that a lot of moms, especially African moms, they're going through a lot, but they don't share. From what I've seen, as much as Caucasian mothers, they tend not to share, but they will share in a one-on-one setting, maybe not in a group setting. That is something that I have noticed. So I figured that I should work on something one-on-ones for new moms. I should put it. Oh, you know how to put it. You know how to do it, Mama. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Alright. Hold on 1 second. Okay, can we put it back on the... Coloca aqui, por favor. Good job. And can we leave it there, please? Thank you. Yep. This is what I'm using for my daughter's nose. I mean, she wasn't getting better, but I think this is helping her.
I was going to talk about something else today, but then I realized that there's the flip side to the last episode I posted. Many are unkind, judgmental, and petty to others because they are all these things to themselves first, and you cannot give what you do not have. Now this is a whole message and some, but I only have a minute. Love is patient, love is kind, it endures, it keeps no records of wrongs. The whole thing is in 1 Corinthians. And if you haven't internalized and applied this to yourself, it will be tough to do the same for others. Your content determines your outflow. If you squeeze a tube of toothpaste will come out. Be kind to yourself, forgive yourself, speak loving words to yourself as the one who created you would do, and you will find that it's that much easier to extend the same to others. Did you get the message?
Bon dia. How are you guys doing? We just got back from dropping off the kids, and I'd mentioned earlier that we weren't feeling well in general. It started off with my son, and then passed around, and we were all like really down for almost 2 weeks. And honestly, it feels so good to be back in good health. I still have a cold, but like I'm back in good health, and for the most part. And we dropped off our kids, and we were walking back, child free and holding hands, and we're like, oh, this just this feels so good. Like, I feel like it's been such a long time. I mean, my daughter was so cranky and clingy this season, and she just always wanted to lie on me. And you can imagine a 15 kg toddler always wanted to sleep on you and lie on you, and I wasn't feeling well, so my back really felt it. So we were just talking about how, God is so intelligent in how he allows contrasts in life, and how you really appreciate one thing when there is a contrast to it, like joy, sadness, pain free, sickness, good health. Like it was almost like we had a refreshed or renewed perspective on life, because we were walking and holding hands and just enjoying the breeze, and we're like, oh, this breeze, feels so good on our skin and not making us shiver because we have a fever and all of that. And it was, honestly, we were just laughing and giggling like little kids, and it was so interesting. And it is really a wisdom of God to have nobody prays for lows, but there is such an appreciation that having a low gives you when you now come back into a high. And even when you go from a high to a low, you just have a profound appreciation for the season you were in, or the season you're coming out of, or the season you're going back into, if it was a high or low. And we just found that interesting. But yeah, we got home a short while ago, and today, actually, 2 years ago, we arrived in Sao Paulo, Brazil, 2 years ago, and we just spent some time praying and just thanking God. It's been a really difficult journey, but it's been an amazing journey at the same time. It's amazing how two things can be true at the same time. The most challenging journey that I've ever lived, or season I've ever lived, but also the most exhilarating and what's the word I'm looking for? The most exhilarating and stretching, and for me, opening up season that I've lived. And it's just been awesome. And I think that that's why I decided to talk about the things that I have found interesting living in Brazil so far, and the things that I love about living in Brazil. And who knows what the next 2 years has for us. We know that it's going to be nothing short of amazing because we are in God's hands. But yeah, we were reminiscing on how we arrived here. We left on the 10th of May, and we did a 24-hour stint thereabout in Qatar. We stayed in a hotel, and then we did the remaining journey, and we landed in Sao Paulo exactly today, 2 years ago. So it's our 2-year anniversary for Sao Paulo. Thank you, Sao Paulo, for welcoming us. Thank you, Brazil, for welcoming us. But yeah, we were just reminiscing on a lot of things today, and we're actually just, really grateful. So I got this today. Green juice, basically. Suco Vergi. Juice is suco. Vergi is green. Or Vergi. Yeah, Vergi is green. Vergi. It's got laranja, orange, masa, apple, cenoura. Wow. Look at me forgetting the word in English. Carrot. Cenoura, carrot. I don't know what the other things are, but those are the greens. And it tastes like spinach juice. Usually I get I don't know if you guys can see it, and I don't know if it's gonna focus. But usually I usually just get apple juice, orange juice, or grape juice. And I think I should add this again. I've listed so many things that I love or I find interesting about Brazil, but this is one thing that I love about Brazil. It's so easy to get fresh juice here. Fresh juice is not a luxury. It's not a big deal. It's not expensive. If you're going to be drinking things that have additives and sugar and all those things and fizz, it's because you want to. It is so easy to get fresh juice. So I lean towards getting fresh juice because, to be honest, makes me feel better. But I've never gotten green juice, but I feel like my body needs it, recovering and all of that. So I got this today. I saw a video recently by another mom, and she said something that really made me stop and think. Hi, my name is Jemima, and I'm a mom of 2 toddlers, founder of A New Mom's Room, and editor of A New Mom's Room magazine. And I know what it's like to feel unseen in the early years of motherhood. Now back to the video. This mom said that it takes at least 2 years for a mom to fully recover from childbirth, for her body, mind, and soul to return to some version of normal, whatever normal looks like, and that the standard 6 to 8 recovery timeline is just not realistic, which I agree with. If you know me, you know how passionate I am about supporting mothers, especially mothers of littles, aka mothers of infants and mothers of toddlers. 2 years ago, I created an online community for mothers like us, a soft place to land, a safe space to be in. This year, I launched a digital magazine bringing together moms through stories of redemption, a space where hopefully a mother could see another mother like her who was healing and thriving. But at the heart of everything I do, I really believe that a mom needs a place to unburden. That's why I'm offering free one-on-one unburdening sessions for moms of infants and toddlers. This isn't exactly therapy. It's not a performance. It's a safe place, a place for you to breathe in. If you feel like you're drowning, overwhelmed, or you feel invisible, or you just really need someone to hear you, I invite you to come. Come as you are. Come with the screaming kids in the background. Come breastfeeding. Come with a breast pump in hand. Messy hair, messy heart. I welcome it all. This isn't just a chat. It's the first step back to yourself, because I believe that there is more for you than just surviving. If you'd like to book a session, click the link in bio or comment unburden and I'll DM you a direct link. If you know a mother who needs this, please send it her way. Let's unburden our mothers one conversation at a time. Happy Mother's Day.